and several other people fought for years to get more money in the budget so that they could be reasonably paid. As far as the services were concerned, you go in the front door and there's sort of a large vestibule where people could hang their coats. And then you'd go into the church proper, and they were just plain ordinary chairs, folding chairs with kneeling benches and several ushers. Well, one of the jobs of the ushers was, before the service, to set out the chairs and the kneeling benches. And then after the service, to pick those up to make room for something else. And we didn't have an organ then, we had a piano. And I remember my mother played the piano. And then when we had an organ, she played the organ. And then the altar was up in front of the church. In back of the altar was, there were two doors on either side of the altar. And they went into a back room. One was a very small pantry kitchen, and the other one was sort of a dressing room where Father Day kept his vestments. And he would always come out, except in the summertime. Sometimes he'd come marching in the front door, but he'd usually come out on the door to the right if you're facing the altar, walk over to the altar, go on up and conduct the service. And then when he left, he would walk down the aisle between the two sides and around, and he always walked out on the left door. If you can visualize that. I mean, I can visualize it because I was there. But he was a marvelous man. And this parish has been very fortunate in having the types of rectors that were Father Day and Father Boley. And I really am not personally familiar with the subsequent rectors, having moved away. But every time I drive along Lake Drive and make this turn in my car, I look at this building, and I'm a little sentimental, but also very proud. When this building was built in '41, I was a little too young to be active in anything then, but when the addition was built, Fred Salmond was chairman of the building committee, and he called me and asked me if I would be his assistant, or his secretary, I think is the term he used, and I readily assented. And I found out that he would conduct a few meetings, but the nitty-gritty was left up to the secretary to do all the paperwork and all the solicitation. So I was very pleased that I had a very active role in raising the money to build this building, the addition. I could go on and on and on, but probably said enough.
I could roll tape forever and ever. But
no, I just want to emphasize again that the strength of this parish has just been marvelous over the years since its very founding. The individual parishioners working in their own capacities, always active, always willing to contribute, has maintained a position here of probably the strongest parish in the Milwaukee Diocese. Amen.
Memories about the job. Somebody asked me what my jobs have been. Well, yeah. And they needed everybody badly in the beginning, of course. And we knew everybody. Are you taping me?
yeah, let's do this. Tell me about that. How did it all? How did it all? It's Helen Barnes.
Okay.
B-A-R-N-E-S, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. How did it all start? What before the church? What did you do? What did your family do? Was there an Episcopal church someplace else you went to? What?
No. I was baptized and confirmed at St. Mark's Church in Milwaukee. because it was just 5 blocks from where my home was as a child on Hackett Avenue. And they had troubles with, St. Mark's had troubles with a rector, and things were not going smoothly there at all. So when I met Hubert, I started going with him to All Saints Cathedral, because that's where he and his family were very active. He and his sisters and brother were in all kinds of organizations down there. The cathedral was quite advanced for that time. They had a basketball team, and we went down every Sunday evening for supper and a short service, and then dancing. 2 of the young men could play the piano, and so it was really an event in our week. And the people who were interested in building a church here were couples with small children who wanted a Sunday school. That was really the start. We needed a Sunday school that was close by in this area, which was building up very quickly after the Depression ended. But we started all this at the beginning of the Depression, and it was anything but easy, because my husband, Hubert, was let out of his job at A.O. Smith along with 700 other people, and he was without that job for 15 months, and we lost a little bungalow that we had bought on Woodburn Street right next door to my sister and her husband, Winifred and Lyndon Morehouse. Well, we went to live with my parents. Clifford and Lyndon Morehouse, I think, knew more about the church than any of the other 9 founding couples, because they were working for the Morehouse Publishing Company over on the north side, about 18th and Fond du Lac. And Clifford's father was the president of the company, and Lyndon and Clifford both worked there. But then Mr. Frederick Morehouse died in the early 30s, and Clifford became the editor of the Living Church, and Lyndon became president of the company. And I really don't know how these 9 couples all got together, but there were the Salmons. He was a lawyer, a very eminent lawyer, and I think he helped solve a good many problems. And some of the couples didn't belong and didn't intend to belong to the church, but they were friends, and they were interested, and they had energy to go out and try to raise some money, and that's what we needed. And then after, the Young People's Society of the diocese were a money-raising group, and they donated some money, which was a big help. I can't remember the amount exactly now. And we had meetings at various houses, and finally plans were put together. We thought we could do it, And Hubert had something to do with the design of the little white church was across the street here. And it was built. And then we needed a rector. Of course, we were a mission, so he would be not a rector, but well, my memory fails me. What did they call? Yeah, I can't think. But Bishop Ivins was the bishop of the diocese at that time, and he knew a friend of his, I think they had been in school together, was teaching at Neshota, Father Marshall Day. And he wanted us to meet Father Day and Mrs. Day and see if they would be the ones that we would want and need to take over the job as missionary. Wasn't that it? That isn't quite right. So we met one night with Father and Mrs. Day. He was teaching Hebrew and Old Testament, and there are very few people in this world Father Day's equal. He had a brain like no very few other people, and we were pleased with each other. We liked them, and they liked us. And so a proposition was put before them. He was feeling at that time that he was ready to be in a part of a parish. He had been in Indiana, I think. And Lyndon wrote the letter. I have a copy of the letter. And they decided they would like to come. And that solved a very big problem. They knew that they would get very little in the way of recompense. But Peggy Day was a musician, and she taught piano. And she had many students here, and I think without her help, the Days could not have managed. And they lived somewhere in Whitefish Bay. I think I was in the house one time over on Berkeley before we had the rectory across the street on Beaumont. And that was a wonderful beginning because Father Day's faith that it could be done, he could help build a church, just kept us going.
We need to switch tape.